Baby. Okay, so this is the EXP Seniors Network Mastermind for July 6, 2021. Just want to let everyone know this is being recorded, and Heather, it's all yours.
Thank you for joining us. I appreciate everybody coming in. I'm sure we're going to have a few more people as we're talking. If everybody could go ahead and mute themselves, that would be greatly appreciated. Donald, I think you're able to mute everybody as well as they come in. I have the pleasure of hosting Bill Gross, and Bill Gross happens to be right over the hill from myself. He's coming live from Beverly Hills-ish, the Pico Robertson area, which is a great area. If you don't know it and you come to visit, you really got to get there. So Bill Gross is a huge probate real estate agent here in LA. He's kind of our guru. When we have questions here in the state of California, he's the guy that we go to. So I'm gonna let him share his screen. If you have questions, he's happy to help you. You can also go ahead and follow him on, he'll give you all his links that he has and classes that he teaches. So Bill, thank you for joining us.
Well, thanks, Heather. I'm not sure to be excited and appreciative or insulted. You call me a huge probate agent. Am I huge and happy to probate, or do I do a huge amount of probate business? I'll let you decide for yourself.
Well, you like it.
I like it either way. I'm fine with it. So, okay, so let me share my screen and at least we'll get the title out of the way. So one of the things I do I teach a class, or I should say my thesis of my business as I talk about this is there's 11 ways to get a sale on probate. Now, I will say, I thought the question was how to get a buyer in probate, so I'm going to focus on that today. There are 11 different ways. When real estate agents are interested in probate, let me back up. I'm not selling anything. I have nothing to sell. I don't sell data. I don't sell coaching. I don't have a CRM. I'm just an EXP broker. Glad to be here. Glad to help. I do get occasionally agents who say, I need help. Can we work on it together? I get referrals. Love that. But I'm not pitching for that. I'm just here to help today, explain the topic as best I can. I will say that when I read the invite, maybe too literally, it was how to get a buyer. So when we talk about of the 11 ways to get a sale in probate, I do that in an hour, and I can only cover 1/11 of an hour is about 5 minutes a piece. I have to go pretty quickly. Today, I'm going to talk about 2 of the 11 ways, and specifically how to get buyers. And I think particularly these are buyers that will lead to more business, buyers that will lead to referrals, and buyers that should lead to listings down the road for you as well as you build your business. And in particular, there's 2 different ways to do that. Now, I'm going to stop and just back up a little bit and say, who am I? I've been in real estate since 1986. I've been a lender. I've been a sales rep, manager, broker owner, and I'm with EXP. I just missed Icon last year by 2 deals. I'm on pace to achieve Icon status with EXP this year. And all my lead generation is in probate. It doesn't mean all my business is probate. I believe that by having an area of expertise, I get other business as a result, not related to probate business. I didn't believe that when we started. You hear agents all the time introduce themselves as experts in first-time buyers, listings, commercial, retail.
Connor, baby, what you doing?
You're people who specialize in 15 things, and a prospect can't think of them as any. But if you're an expert in one, you have the chance to get their attention. Don Hobbs, my sponsor, has a YouTube called The Brand Called You, where he discusses that in detail. So I will say that's my specialty. Now, just real quick, so I understand where we're at today. We have about 25 people on the call. How many of you, just put in what state you're from. If you would chat, in the chat box, put in, and you can put 2 letters if you're a little lazy, CA for California. What state are you guys in? So I can tailor it. So we have a couple California, Oregon, Florida, Arizona, North Carolina. The Village is Florida. The Village is a separate state within Florida, by the way, if you don't know that. The agents will tell you that for sure. Washington, Dan, is that Washington, D.C. or Washington State? I'm going to guess state, as in Seattle. California and Nevada, a lot of overlap between California and Nevada and probate business. I see that with attorneys as well as realtors and investors. Okay, so I'm not going to talk just about California specifically. I'm going to try to talk a little more broadly since it seems like half of our group is outside of California. And I will say that, for a long time in my career, I also was looking at seniors as a niche I wasn't interested in. These days I am a senior, so I better pay attention to the thing or I'm going to miss out. So we're going to talk about all things probate, but specifically the two different ways and how to get buyers that I think are a little quicker kill for some of you already in the business to get a deal than, say, prospecting. Like the companies that sell data will say, well, buy our data, learn the scripts, mail them out every month for 2 years, and call them and spend 3 hours a day cold calling, which is great, but you're not going to start getting business for months. Whereas the MLS, you can hook a buyer up right away. And then if you do it properly, if they're an investor, you can find other business from them. So I think this is a quicker way to get to some business for real estate agents. So I want to talk about two types of sales: full authority and limited authority. Now, those are the official terms we use in California. They're a little different in other states. North Carolina is different, I know, Washington. But basically think of this as those that do not need any court approval, or they really look like a regular sale, is a way to think of those. And the other ones need court approval. Now, court approval is more an issue in California. It's mostly an issue in Los Angeles, in metro areas. It skews more in lower income areas, Atlanta, Georgia. Think of poverty areas. Clark County, Nevada, where Las Vegas is, but not in higher income and not in suburban or rural areas probably at all. These are properties that they're noted as probate, but otherwise they're almost the same as a regular deal. Now, what does that mean? So what that means is that in California and in most states, there's different forms or different addendums or different contractual terms you need to be aware of to disclose to your buyer and the seller about the deal. But in terms of process, it's pretty much the same as a regular transaction. So in California, I would say learn the CAR, proposed purchase agreement, probate purchase agreement form. We have a form and there's a probate purchase addendum, I'm sorry. So you have a regular purchase form and then you have the addendum, right? And so learn that form, learn what's on there, learn all the words, because you're gonna ask your buyer to sign it, you need to know what it says. The other main difference with a full authority in California, or where there is a court approval, is a notice of proposed action. What does that mean? So normally the only time a sale needs court approval in other states is when there's a conflict or there's a objection or there's two parties fighting over what should happen. And so there's a process where the court files a document saying the seller, the state wants to sell the property to these people for these terms. And either you argue now or forever hold your peace. And once 30 days goes by, then that period's done and you can close transactions. You need to have this form done in California to get title insurance. And you have attorneys will tell you, oh, you don't need to do this form, which is true legally. Sometimes you don't need to do it. It's just the title company won't give you title insurance and you won't close unless you do it. So a couple key tips here is read the forms. In California, in zip forms, find the probate, just put the word probate and it'll pop up some old forms that don't exist anymore in the new forms. You'll see the probate listing agreement in case you want to list property, and you'll see the probate addendum form that you should read in detail. Not a lot to it, particularly if, again, we're talking about those that don't need court approval, then you're just checking off that it may not need court approval. And you're going to tell your client that. Now, basically, it's the same as a non-probate sale. And you'll find real estate companies saying to their agents, well, if there's a probate, just stay away from it because it's complicated. Don't stay away from it. If you're in California, call me. Maybe I can help you figure out what to do. Other states, I don't know as much yet, but I do have friends, other agents, other attorneys, other states. I'm glad to help if I can. But basically, that means it's the same as a non-probate. Maybe there's some forms that are different. And so what you need to do then as an agent is to learn those forms so you can convey to your prospect that you know what you're doing. And then most importantly, let me kind of get through this. Check the MLS for these properties. So if I was a buyer's agent, I wanted to learn probate and maybe want to list probate also. And I do this, actually, I'm going to tell you to do. I put in my MLS a search where every new probate listing that's listed goes active or sells or whatever the different changes are. I get an email notification about it, just like I was a buyer looking to buy those properties, or just like if I had a buyer who wanted to buy them. Why do I do that? One, I see what the competition's doing. I can read the notes. I can read the information about it. Number two, I might find a property that one of my buyers wants. And so create a search in your MLS to bring these properties to your attention. Now, not every MLS has such a search. Because I'm in California, we have so much probate, my MLS has some very detailed search criteria. In smaller MLSs, you don't get as much. But whatever you do have, maybe you have keywords. Maybe you have to call the help desk for your MLS. I find they're very helpful to figure it out. But you want to search all the probate properties. You'll see who the listing agents are getting the probates. You'll be able to see who the competition is, either to work with them or to work against them. Kim asked a question, how do you go about finding out what forms we need in my state? Kim, what state are you in? New York, New York, so nice they named it twice. Well, New York is a really different state. It's different than EXP, but I would say start with your EXP broker, state of New York. What part of New York are you in, Kim? I was just there. Albany. My son-in-law went to SUNY Albany. Well, it's not so nice in December, I'll tell you that. A quick story there, he was engaged to my daughter and they were gonna live in New York, it's from New York. And my wife and I would look at a temperature whenever the variance from Albany in LA was more than 50 degrees, we would text him, hey, Michael, how's the weather? Knowing it was 20 degrees there. Oh, really, it's 20? Wow, it's 70 degrees here, it's too bad. And today now he lives with my daughter here in Los Angeles, so. Okay, Sharon asked about Texas. I would say same thing. Texas, I do rub it in, Kim, I'm sorry. Sharon, I would say the same thing, talk to your state broker about probate. And I think that unless there's a probate expert in the XP within your state, why don't you become the probate expert? Why don't you find out what the forms are, read the forms, post the forms in your state forum, and talk about it. Now, I will say, before I get into this content, normally, I talk about general things in sales, which is about the importance of being an expert, not just talking about being an expert. Too many real estate agents will take a class for 3 hours or 6 hours, get a little certificate and say they're a probate expert. Well, you're not a probate expert, you took a class. But I do believe that experts, it's a process, not a destination. And I can tell you, I've taken 5 certification classes, I've retaken a couple, I bought a couple books, I watched a bunch of YouTubes, listen to podcasts. I want to get every edge I can in my business. And so Sharon, I challenge you to not only talk to your state broker, but I would say also Google search probate Texas. It's different in Texas. Google, I think it's much more streamlined in Texas than other states, as I understand it. But I would Google search it. I also would, this is another class I do on how to work with attorneys, finding your sphere an attorney who maybe doesn't do probates, don't ask for referrals, buy them lunch and ask them about how the probate process works and what they know about it. It's a good excuse to get with them and develop a relationship. Okay, so that's other states, talk to your state broker at EXP. That's what they're paid for. My experience is they're great. They might know who the probate expert is in your state and you may not know that. But I would say check the MLS for all probate properties, create a search so that every time one comes up, read the remarks. Now, again, in our MLS, we have public remarks and private for agents only. But you'll learn the real pros have those remarks down. You can copy and paste them and use those same remarks. They're not trademarked. They're not protected. They are available for us as members of MLS to copy and research and use. So I would say check the MLS. Everybody needs an edge. And so when I talk to investors and buyers, I tell them I'm a probate expert. I check every single probate listing. Every investor I talk to is interested. I feel like when I go to a networking event, I'm the prettiest girl at the prom. Every boy wants to get with me because they hear probate. They all know it's a niche they need to learn. They don't know anything about it. And they figure a shortcut way is my good graces. Now, just like the girl at the prom, it's not that simple. You don't want to be that simple girl. My point here is that if you check all the inventory, like in my case, I literally run a report every month of every probate listing in my MLS, every single one. Days on market, just like any other agent would in their geography. Taking paralegal classes right now. In September, we start studying probate at UTSA. Well, very nice. UTSA is University of Texas at San Antonio, I believe. That's exciting. And again, I think that's an opportunity for you to combine paralegal expertise with real estate sales. One of the things I do with a lot of my clients is instead of referring to an attorney, I refer them to a service. Easy-probate.com is one that I use, easy-probate.com. And basically, it's kind of like a legal Zoom on probate. And they're experts in probate. They do a great job, really cheap. And you as a paralegal, that would be a natural way for you to make some money on both sides. Let's go back to finding buyers though. Check the MLS, master the MLS in your market on probate sales. If you see every single probate listing going back a year or two, you can calculate how long they took from listing to sale and how long from filing to listing date, you've now become the expert of real estate and probate in your market, period. That's all I did. I tracked, now I took a subset because in LA, it's a huge market. We have 800 probate cases a month. We only have 45 that do need court confirmation. I tracked every one of those. And I have for 3 years. I am the expert on those sales. I'm the only person with a spreadsheet of every one of them, what they're listed for, when they filed their initial petition in probate, when they sold, how much they sold for, who the listing agent was, the buyer's agent, who the buyer was. I have all that. How did I do that? One day at a time, I kept the data. And you can do the same thing. You can just track your MLS data and be an expert there. So that's how you develop the edge. So look at them all. Look at all the probates. You might broaden your geography beyond what you might normally sell property in, because probates tend to be vacant. So you don't have to meet the client there. They can go there on their own. It's much simpler to work. So you can go a little further out. You're not going to drive a customer around and visit 5 probate properties. They're going to go see one because it's a fix and flip. Bill, where are you searching in the MLS? Roger, where are you? Roger Clement, where are you located? Where do you sell real estate?
Virginia.
Can't speak to Virginia's MLS. I don't know the answer. But here's what I will say. I would call your MLS hotline or helpline and ask them the question. I'd like to research all the probates in my county. Is it possible to do in your MLS? Some MLSs have it a field. Some MLSs have it as keywords. Generally, they're supposed to identify if they're probate or not because it might be a different process. Virginia is a little more complicated than most states. So it surprises me that wouldn't be available in your MLS. I would think there's some way that you are required to identify them as probate in your MLS. I'll ask you this, Roger, find out, and I'd love to see the answer from your MLS, but I'm guessing it is.
Yeah, I've got one coming up. I'm waiting for the people. Actually, was talking to them before their father passed away. And then right in the middle of our talking, he passed away. So they're going into probate and they were cleaning the house up, stuff like that. So I just want to learn more about it and see what we need to do on the other side of the United States.
Sure.
Right.
So have they filed a probate? They started the process yet, do you know?
The last time I talked to her, she said, we're still cleaning the house out and working with the probate attorney.
So those things sound to me incongruous because normally they don't need to clean the house out. Now, if clean the house means taking out the valuables and taking out the sentimental items, that makes sense. Once they're done with that, and
they have a ton of antiques and they don't want them in the house when they show the house. So they're taking them all to a big storage area and they're going to have an estate sale at the storage area.
Interesting. Okay. Normally when I work with estate sales companies, they just do it in the house because they're already placed on the house.
They decided they didn't want to do that for some reason.
Interesting. Okay. I think that oftentimes we allow them to make decisions, but we're supposed to be the expert. And so having worked with estate sales, the extra cost of taking the property out factors in, where most estate sales I've dealt with, they want to sell it right then and there. They don't have to bother moving it.
They had way too much stuff. And when you're working with 5 kids.
It's challenging. I understand. Again, whether you're working with 5 or 20 or 1, if you're the authority, they're going to look to you for recommendations. If they know more than you about selling the pots and pans or the vases and the antiques, they're going to think they know more than you about selling the real estate. So I would just, I always look at the opportunity from day one of building authority with them. That's why I position myself as an expert in probate rather than just a practitioner who can do a probate and help you list the property. Because at some point, when they start telling me how they want to do things, well, then I don't even want to list the house. Because then those are the clients who call me up and tell me the photos are out of order and they want to rewrite the remarks and they think that's going to change the value of the property. It's always nice to have things done properly, but it doesn't sell the property. And if they think it does, I'm not the right agent for them. So just something to think about for all of us is we want to be the experts, and part of being an expert in probate is those ancillary services and how to get them done for the best outcome for the client, not what they think they're supposed to do. That's why they're coming to us. Like, I wouldn't go to a doctor for surgery and have the doctor let me pick the anesthesiologist or what kind of aspirin I want to use. That's what the doctor's job is to coordinate all that so we get the outcome that we want. Again, just another way to think about it. I don't want to be argumentative. Okay, so again, look at all the probate cells, and in your MLS, if it's not clear to you, is it not a field probate, yes or no, or probate full authority limited, or court approval, yes, no. It might be in the keywords, right? I've seen counties where you search in the keywords and it pops up, or the remarks. So I would check there, but I also would check with my MLS help desk. And I feel like part of what we pay for, in my experience, they do a good job, is answering those kinds of questions. And then use that as a hook for buyers, particularly investors. So I tell people that I check all the probate sales. Most agents skip over them. If you're interested, I'd be glad to send you my weekly list of probate sales and identify some of them as I think hot properties. And so I've actually created an email list of investors I email out to once a week. And I get a list of all the probate sales. I download it, clean it up a little bit. It takes me 10 minutes to do every week, but they get a list of the probate sales that are available in our market area. And obviously, buyers can be more interested in working with me if I have that experience with them. Okay, so that is the full authority, and the other one is what I call limited authority. So limited authority is when you do, let me just go back and explain what it is. Limited authority is when you need court approval. So if you're in California, this is about 1 in 10. If you're in other states, it's not, it's not that common. It's more common in Nevada than other states, where the property is listed, they go into escrow, they clear contingencies, and they go to court to confirm the sale unless somebody walks in the door willing to pay more. So there's different words in different states. In California, we call it limited authority. Again, if I was an agent looking to break into probate, I would search all properties. And I have 2 searches for me personally, one limited, one full, for different types of circumstances. How do you make money with those? Well, with court approval property, there's 2 ways to be, first in or last. So you either want to hit those properties that hit the market right away. The listing agent is anxious to get an offer good enough to get to court. It doesn't have to be top dollar because they know somebody has a chance to overbid. So sometimes they want to have an auction and get the top dollar, but generally investors won't pay top dollar if they have to put their money up, waive contingencies, and then wait for a court date. I had investors who, with COVID, were waiting a month for court date, and then COVID closed down and caused about a 7-month, 8-month delay, and their money was tied up. And that's happened before, and other times where courts had closed down for various reasons. So you want to get in first or come in last. Coming in last means when it goes to court, you want to represent the buyer who overbids. Okay, are you all clear on what I mean by when I say limited approval or court approval required? Is that clear? Anybody have a question on that? No? Okay. So what you want to do then is watch all the properties, evaluate properties quickly, share them with your buyer investor list. Here at EXP, you can do that by KV Core. You can create a squeeze page. Do you want the latest list? And they get into your database, and you tag them as full authority, you tag them as limit authority, and they get the email based on what they are. I'd say get to the property right away, because sometimes it's hard to inspect, especially fix or flips when the property is not kept up. Maybe they're squatters, maybe they just embarrassed to let people in the property. Sometimes the listing agent is trying to double in the deal. You want to get in as quick as you can. You want to meet the listing agent if you can, subject to COVID. And then you want to research the case. Now I use, let me go through here real quick. I use Probate Money is a database program I use in California. It's not national. There's alltheleads.com, but you can research the case. You also can research the case through your county. Many counties, if you have the property or if you have the name of the decedent, you have the name of the petitioner, you can, or the name of the attorney, you can search and find out the case and get the status of it. Has it been filed? When's the next hearing date? Do they have their letters of authority or not? Many of those things are available in most counties if you learn how to research on the county. And I get agents all the time to tell me they want to learn probate. And I tell them, step one in your county, go to the county probate court website. And whatever's available, master it. I don't think there's any agent in LA that knows more about what's on the LA County website than me. And that's free. So I would say research your county probate court resources case, or find a service. Probate Money is a service, probatemoney.com. Amy, to answer your question, it's available, it really is only available in California currently. There's another program you might consider in other states, alltheleads.com. In fact, I'm going to type those in the chat box. All the Leads has a great coaching product. alltheleads.com. And they're based in, I think, Virginia, actually. National, almost every county in the country, they have the data on. If you're in California, I would recommend probatemoney.com. And if you use Probate Money, if you use the coupon or promo code Bill Gross, no space, you'll get an extra 200 downloads a month. I just interviewed Probate Money's CTO on my YouTube channel. So you want to research the case and see, is it viable or not? Do they have letters of authority? Are there people contesting it? You get the names of all the parties to be able to figure out what you have. And then you want to get locked up with acceptance as quick as you can, like any buyer with investors. The key is getting the property locked up. I saw Grant Cardone today in our talking about how important it is. The first step, get the deal locked up. Second step, financing. Third step, equity. Fourth step, close. So first step is you're gonna get the property locked up. Get the property quickly, evaluate it, meet the listing agent, make an offer, get accepted, and then go through contingencies. And then you need to know the process. Now, in California, when there's court authority required, they have to publish, which means that there's certain periodicals that are approved to publish this property is being sold and the court will confirm it on or after this date. And if they don't run that ad and they don't run it properly, the sale will not be approved. So you want to know if it's been published or not. Do they require 10% down? In California, generally speaking, 10% down is required at the courthouse or to get to the courthouse. It's a large down payment, and you have to waive all contingencies. You have to know that process. You have to waive all contingencies when you walk into court. Now, there are some investors who've seen the property and can make that assessment, but they need to know they're waiving all contingencies. That means waiving all contingencies. Now, the seller can't lie to you about the property. You still have that contingency, fraud. If they're promised to deliver it vacant, I make them vacate before we close escrow. Otherwise, we don't inherit the tenant problem. But you're waiving all contingencies when you go to court. You need to have a bid strategy. What's the highest you can go to? One strategy, even though the court allows us to come in via video, they also allow us to go in court in person. I always go in person. That way there's no technical problems and no communication problems. Okay, Joyce Jaramillo. I have prospective listing that's in process with a lawyer. Get the house in her name. I still not to have a signed listing agreement until the house is in her name. She says it's been 4 months. The lawyer said it would take 3. Well, I'm not going to go to her in September, but she doesn't want to wait that long. Joyce, what state are you in? North Carolina. So again, I can't really help that much in North Carolina. In Goldsboro, very nice. So I would say, find out. I find often people don't really know what they're doing. I find half the time the attorneys don't know what they're doing. I'll give you a statistic. In Los Angeles, when I download all the probate cases, 95% of cases are done by attorneys who've done 1 probate or less in the last 12 months. So they don't know what the hell they're doing, but they sound like they do. In fact, I would say in general, attorneys, like politicians, Their key skill is they sound like they know what they're doing when they know nothing. And so if they don't know what they're doing, they try to convey to the client what's happening. The client's even more confused. So Joyce, there's only two things that matter. What's the legal status of the property? Talk to your title rep, pull the deed and look at it, number one. Number two, has probate been filed? And in your county, you're in Goldsboro is a city, I believe. I don't know what county you're in, but in your county, North Carolina, online, can you search by the decedent's name and find out the status of a probate case? Or you might need to subscribe to alltheleads.com in your county, download the case or find it, and then you know, has a case really been filed? I found cases where they really haven't filed the papers yet. I found other cases where the attorney submitted it and been rejected 3, 4, 5 times because of paperwork mistakes. The client didn't know about it. We took over, fixed those mistakes, got them full authority, and sold the house. Janice says, in California, it can say probate in public or private remarks. Jess, I'm referring more to when I put a listing in, you click a box, probate yes or no, and probate court approval required yes or no. Those are required fields when you input a listing. So I search on that. Outside of California, that's in our MLS. But how can I light a fire with an attorney? I would say usually you can't. You can have to light a fire with a client. So find out the status of the deed, find out the status of the probate, and that will help you move on. And Joyce, we can talk offline. I'd be glad to help you there. Okay, Patricia says, if a buyer makes an offer and waives contingencies, what's left for buyer's exit if they decide not to purchase? Can buyer get deposit returned to them? Well, it's like any other buyer transaction. If they waive contingencies, their money's at risk. And the court can do whatever they want. The court might hold all their money. Theoretically, the court could find them in contempt if they did something dishonest. But their money is at risk. I tell a buyer, you need to assume your money is gone. Unless the seller's letting you out, you need to assume your money is gone. Because the seller has to go back, resell the property to a new buyer, and then go back to court. Now, I will say, if it's in California, call me. I have a strategy I've used and been approved on in these circumstances. When one buyer wants out, but there's another buyer at the same price or higher, I've learned how to substitute that new buyer in and get them their money back. So if you get in that case, call me in California. Okay, so let's go back to the court hearings. Have a strategy when you go to court. I always go in person. I find that it eliminates communication problems, and it also lets me meet the attorney and the judge see me as well, which is important. Go to court and act like you'll bid forever. When you go to court, you want the other party to be discouraged. You want to act like you bid on properties all the time, even if it's your first one and the only one you ever buy. You have an unlimited amount of money, you're going to bid forever. When you bid, answer like you're going to bid forever. If you know you're bidding to say 450 and it's 400,000, the judge says, you go to 4.5, yes. Yes, make it sound like you're going to go forever. You might stop at the next bid. Don't let them know that. If you can bluff somebody into being discouraged and to quit earlier, you save your client money. So go to court and act like you bid forever. Okay, that's really all I have on those two particular topics, which are how to get buyers. There's properties that are listed with full authority, properties are listed with not full authority, and I'll kind of try to cover those two. Any questions? Let's first talk about probates as it relates to buyers. Any questions? No? Man, a lot of people popped on this call now. We've got 32 people. That's amazing.
There's a lot in the chat. You already answered my questions. Thank you, Bill.
Sure.
Do you want to go over and hop into chat and see what it says? Have you been looking, Phil?
I've been looking. I think I covered them all as I went through here.
Okay.
I tried to. If I missed your question, go ahead and re-chat it.
Go ahead and unmute yourself if you do have a question. We'd love for you to speak up. We're always open to hearing people's voices. Kind of get to meet everybody. Hi, Patricia.
Hi,
No,
I have
no,
a question.
It's Patricia.
Patricia, I have a question. So I have 2 buyers right now that are looking to purchase property. If they were interested in a probate property, so that seems pretty risky, right? Putting down the 10% down, waiving contingencies. Is there an opportunity to see the property before before they make that offer? I mean, other than when the auction is held?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Sometimes you got to talk your way into it.
Hmm.
Sometimes I just let the buyer on their own go over there and figure the way in the property. But think about it. If the listing agent is not letting anybody see the property and your buyer is the only one that sees the property, to me, that's a competitive advantage, right?
Right.
So I try to find some way to get them in the property. The more the listing agent fights to me getting in, the more I want to get in. I know there's something going on. I don't want to find out what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I've never had a case where the listing agent tried to hide the fact the property was worse than I would imagine, and the deal was a bad deal. I've only had it be the opposite. It was much better. I'll give you one example. I had a property come up that we thought was a good deal, but it wasn't the MLS. And the California court requires the property be advertised publicly for the court to approve the sale. So I called the
What? Did you communicate that to her?
You talking to me, Portia? No. She did. Okay. So it required, well, she said, what? Like, did I say something wrong? So in California, for court approval, one thing the court requires the property be advertised publicly. What does publicly mean? For most people, that means the MLS. For most judges, that means the MLS. And this property wasn't the MLS. It was a condo. It was in Tarzana. It wasn't some weird location. It's about as average a condo in Southern California as you get, but it wasn't listed. I called the listing agent, and I love when they do this. The listing agent goes, we can call the attorney directly. Beautiful. Now I'm meeting a new attorney, and now I'm getting the inside info because the listing agent's so scared. He doesn't know anything. He said it's like he basically invited the wolf into the chicken coop. Great, I'll go in the chicken coop. He invited the college boy into the girls' sorority shower room. Fine, I'll go in. So I go in, I'm talking to the attorney, and the attorney says the reason why it wasn't advertised was because the property is in such bad condition, the MLS won't allow you to list the property. Now, first off, that's music to my ears, because if they think it's that bad, they haven't let anybody see the property. It must be, there's some money there. Why would you say that? Either you're really, really stupid and lazy, or you're dishonest. Not sure which one it was. Either you're dishonest, you're trying to hide the property to double end it. That's what he was trying to do. Whenever they double end it, that's what they try to do. Or you're stupid. So I said to the attorney, well, the problem is the court's probably going to decline your sale because you haven't advertised it. But at least if you put it on the MLS for at least a week, they'll clear the condition. You've advertised the property. You have a better chance of getting the sale approved. So he did that, but it was so close to the sale, nobody else, I guess, saw it. Me and my investor colleague showed up. We bought the property. So we go to the property afterwards. How bad was it? Well, I would say to you, I've been to hoarder properties. I've been to properties that I had a listing where the second story was burned off and half of the first story was burned off. It wasn't that bad. I've had properties that had so many squatters that the police came by every night to pick up whoever was there that night. It wasn't that bad. It was like I had a place that was like a coke den. This was just a property where when whoever left the house left, when they opened a drawer, took out the stuff, they dumped it on the floor. So there was stuff everywhere. Every cabinet was open and stuff was on the floor, but there were no rats. There were no animals. There were no squatters. There was no toxic chemicals. There was no drugs like meth or any of that kind of stuff. It was just a bunch of junk on the floor. And once we bought the property and just trashed it out, 1-800-GOT-JUNK, and just took all the stuff out of the house and sent in Molly maids to clean it up. It was a nice, clean, empty condo in a hot market in Tarzana, California. We made over $100,000 on it. So my moral of that story is the more they try to keep you out of it, the more opportunity there is probably making money on the deal. So to answer your question, Patricia, I would say, I love her accent, by the way, Patricia. What I would say is that, we have to work to get our buyers in to see the property. Sometimes it's being friendly with the listing agent. Sometimes it's kind of being them around a little bit. Sometimes it's knowing who the attorney is. Sometimes my investor will go without my permission, which is fine. So whatever you can do to get in the property, but the more information, the better outcome you're going to have.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure. Always a pleasure to see you, Patricia. Always a pleasure. She's a superstar, by the way. New XP agent, first year, closed what? First 2 deals already, third one in escrow, third one listed?
I have two in escrow, and I had one that I assisted as a showing agent. That one closed. I actually have another one closing this month too as a showing agent.
Yeah, she's doing great, so welcome
Mhm.
aboard.
Mhm.
Who was the genius that sponsored you in EXP, by the way? Who was that guy?
Oh, I don't know. Somebody named Bill Gross.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, that guy.
She's great. I love her too.
You
so,
might have heard of him.
yeah. Okay, other questions? Anybody else have any other questions? Probate or not? Anything probate related?
Bill, will you talk about some of the classes that you teach or what you have so anybody can join those?
Yep.
Dawn, I mean, just give us a little bit of the stuff that you do.
Sure. So in EXP world, I have probate group. If you search probate, it pops up probate group. And we have, I do there most Mondays, of course, subject to my schedule, 10 a.m. Pacific time. I do one of those 11 ways each week. I record it there live and then take questions and answers on anything. I do kind of encourage EXP agents who have questions to try to catch me there. Then I can record your question and answer, which is helpful for me, obviously. I also run a weekly probate call called probateweekly.com. How about that name? Probateweekly.com. It's on Eventbrite. And so you register and you get reminders, and we do it every week. I don't sell probate data. I don't sell coaching. Maybe someday I will. But I really am looking to build a tribe of people that I can help. And so I'd love to have you come on that, probateweekly.com. I generally talk about one of the 11 ways each week, so I can cycle through in 11 weeks, all of them. And then we try to go a little deeper. I bring on guests. I've had attorneys. Last week I had a great attorney. I've had probate services on. Easyprobate.com was one I had recently, vendors and such. And then all that streamed onto YouTube, youtube.com/C/Bill Gross EXP is my YouTube channel. So I'll put that in the chat box and you can watch the past episodes of all that. But I do it every week. It's free. And I don't charge for anything at this point. I don't know that I ever will, but you never know. So anyhow, there you go. Probateweekly.com and then in the EXP world as well.
Bill, thank you so much. Does anybody else have questions for Bill as we wrap up our session?
So this is Debbie in Florida.
So
So
the villages.
the villages. So I do a ton of probate here, and I will tell anybody that's on the call, you really have to research based on your own state, your own county, what probate means in your area.
Yeah.
Because we never go to auction. We always have it in the MLS. We pretty much have to wait till the 3 months are up for the executor to get appointed, and then also for the pretty much the creditors to get in line, that we have a clue how much we're dealing with. But it's the thing that every county, every municipality is different. So you really have to kind of search out your own. In our MLS, I have no way to find the probate houses, because if it's past the point of court needing to be involved, we don't advertise it as probate. It's pretty obvious when you start seeing 2 kids or 5 kids or however many kids involved, but we don't advertise it. So just a heads up for everybody to research your own.
I have a question. This is Monica. I'm in Maryland, and I have a listing that I was going to put through Express Offers. If there is 5 children involved, the mother had passed. All of them are named on the deed as it is now, so it just passed straight on to them. However, the oldest child has said that it's in writing. She has a copy of something in writing that left her in charge, and it's nowhere in a registered will, registered in the state of Maryland. How can I verify that?
How can you verify they have the will or where her legal rights
Well,
are.
yeah, a will, right, a will, right. I haven't seen this document that she's speaking about, and she doesn't have an original of it, is what she's saying. She just have a copy of whatever it is, and it hasn't been shared with me. I've already looked in the Register of Wills in Maryland and haven't been able to find anything. I'm just trying to research because I don't want to, move further if it really is some other legalities at play that I'm not aware of.
I can't speak to Maryland law because I just don't have experience with it. I can say that the probate only affects the assets of the estate. Now, you can put on a deed. When you say the deed has all of them on there already, what does that mean? Like in California, we have a deed where is a deed upon death, or is it a deed where they're all on probate with mom and then mom passes?
It's more like a remainder man. Yes, it is. It's literally, when you look it up in public record, it already has their names. It's all 5 of them equally own it.
Public records, I find, can be inaccurate. It's based on different things than the legal status, at least in California. Oftentimes, one child will deed the property to himself, and the public records will go, okay, I guess he's got the property. Doesn't mean you have legal rights to property. It just means that's where they're going to send the property tax bill until somebody complains about it. So
I did have another attorney, a title attorney, look into it, and he says that it's legit based on what he was able to research. He did it as a favor to me.
So what was legitimate?
Say it again.
What was legitimate?
What I was looking at, what I found in public records.
That the deed showing the title and the 5 siblings was a good deed, that transfer was done properly.
Yes.
Well, if that's the case, again, I don't know the details of Maryland or that deed, but in general, in California, if the property's already been deeded from mom to 5 kids, mom doesn't own the property when she dies, it doesn't go to probate. She may have a probate or not, but that property is not part of it.
Got it.
So you're asking a question. I think if that's true, then they don't need to probate. If it, of course, somebody can contest and say that property, is not. The key I find in the fallback on all these kind of questions is what the title company will insure. If you're saying that those 5 people send a grant deed to me, that they'll insure the title deed, that's fine with them, that means the title's good to go. And you don't need to worry about the probate part. Now, mom might have had bank accounts, she might have personal property, and in most states, it has to hit a certain threshold to even trigger a probate. In California, it's $167,000. If mom doesn't have that much in assets, then there's not even a need for probate. So if it's already been deeded to the siblings and they own property, I'm not sure what the estate has that you'd have to probate.
That was helpful. Thank you.
My pleasure, Monica. Good. Other questions? I put the link. I don't know why there's a problem with the link, but I put it in.
I just copied and repasted it from your video, from YouTube. I went to your YouTube channel and I posted it in there. So
there we go. And I think if you go into Probate Weekly, you'll see I have a couple. There's an interview. One of the interviews is with an attorney from Florida, Al Nicoletti. It's fantastic. He's in Jacksonville. It does vary by county, the practices and procedures. The law is typically statewide, but there's local rules. So I would agree with, I forget who it is that's in the lakes, that you want to know that county, particularly bigger counties. You want to know their particular local rules. Any other questions? No?
thank you, Bill, so much for joining us. We
It was a
really
lot of fun.
appreciate it.
Anytime.
Next week, in case you guys missed it at the beginning, we are going to do Instagram and everything Instagram, how to market ourselves, how to set up an account. So just watch out because I'll be sending out stuff for that as well. Bill, thank you again.
Thank you. A lot of fun. Enjoy, you guys. And I hope you guys sign up for XPCon and hope to see you there.
We look forward to seeing you as well.
All the best.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, everybody, for joining us.
Thanks. Thank you all for doing it.
Everybody,
Thanks. Bye-bye.
video will be out tomorrow.
Thanks.